When last did you sit down, quietly, honestly, without your phone, without distraction, and ask yourself, who am I actually becoming? Not who people think you are, not who I am pretending to be, but who am I in the decision I make when nobody is watching? You see, that is the real question. And it is the question that separates the people who build great lives from the people who spend their lives wondering what could have been. But here is what I need you to hear from me today. Your identity is not assigned to you. It is chosen by you. Every single day, in every single decision, you are either drifting into a version of yourself by default, or you are building a version of yourself on purpose. Everything else I say today is built on it. Identity is a choice, not a circumstance. Most people becomes whoever their environment decided they would be, the school they attended, the neighborhood they grew up in, the opinions of people around them, and they spend their whole lives living inside someone else's definition of who they are.
Now see your perspective podcast.
There is a question that most people never stop long enough to answer. Not because it is a hard question, but because the answers require something most people are not ready to give. A decision, a real one, the kind that costs you something. Today on the CEO perspective, we are going to sit with that question together. And by the time this episode is over, I believe something in you is going to shift. The question is simple. The answer will change your life. Who do you want to be? Welcome to the CEO Perspective Podcast, a place where vision meets reality and dreams are shaped into businesses. I am your host, Samuel MOREGRACE, EDEHIGHAGBA, and every single episode of this podcast exists for one reason: to help you stop surviving and start building. Building your business, building your leadership, and building the version of yourself the world is waiting for. If this is your first time here, welcome. You picked the right episode to start with. If you have been with us for a while, you already know we do not do surface conversation here. We go deep, we go real, and today we are going as deep as it gets. Because today we are talking about identity, who you are becoming, and whether those two things are the same. Grab something to write with. You're going to need it before this episode is done. So let us go into it immediately. I want to start today by taking you somewhere. I want you to think back. It does not matter how old you are. I want you to think back to a moment when someone told you who you were. Maybe it was a teacher, maybe it was a parent, a relative, a friend, maybe it was nobody said it out loud to you. It was just the atmosphere of the environment you grew up in. And whatever they said or did not say, some part of you believe it. Some of you were told you were not smart enough, not connected enough, not from the right family, not from the right city, not capable of the kind of life you dreamed about in private. And here's the dangerous part. You did not need them to say it more than once, because once a belief takes roots in the mind of a young person, it does not need to be watered. It grows on its own. It shapes decisions. It shrinks ambitions. It makes people settle for a version of their life that was never truly theirs. You know why? Because I have seen it. I have lived near it. And I have spent years trying to pull people, and sometimes myself, out of it. Today, I want to offer you something different. Not motivation, not a pep talk, but a framework, a way of thinking about who you are and who you are becoming, that if you apply it, will fundamentally change the trajectory of your life. It begins with the understanding that the person you are today is not the final answer. It is the current draft, and draft can be rewritten. So before we go into the 4 messages I want to share with you today, I need to ask you a question directly. When last did you sit down quietly, honestly, without your phone, without distraction, and ask yourself, who am I actually becoming? Not who people think you are, not who I am pretending to be, but who am I in the decision I make when nobody is watching? You see, that is the real question. And it is the question that separates the people who build great lives from the people who spend their lives wondering what could have been. Today, we are going to answer it together. 4 messages, 1 decisions. Let's go. I want you to understand something, that identity is a choice, not the circumstances. And I need you to hear this one carefully, because everything else I say today is built on it. Identity is a choice, not a circumstance. Most people becomes whoever their environment decided they would be, the school they attended, the neighborhood they grew up in, the opinions of people around them, and they spend their whole lives living inside someone else's definition of who they are. They did not choose that definition, they inherited it. And because nobody told them, they had the right to the question. They carried it, and all way into adulthood, into their career, into their businesses, into their relationships, into the ceiling they place on their own ambition without even realizing it. But here is what I need you to hear from me today. Your identity is not assigned to you, it is chosen by you. Every single day, in every single decision, you are either drifting into a version of yourself by default, or you are building a version of yourself on purpose. Let me say that again, just in case you want to write it down. Every single day, in every single decision, you are either drifting or building. There is no neutral. There is no standing still. Every day that passes, you are becoming somebody. The only question is whether you are conscious of who that somebody is. Now, I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. Even if it is just in your mind, just answer anyway. How many of you have ever felt like you are living up to someone else's expectations instead of yours? I mean, if you are listening to this right now and that question landed somewhere, if something in your chest just moved, then this episode is specifically for you. Because what you just felt is the gap between who you have been forming to be and who you actually are. Because between the life that was handed to you and the life you were built for. And here is what I want you to know about that gap. It is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that something is alive in you. That there is a version of you that has not yet fully shown up. That the best chapter of your story has not yet been written. The question is not who do people say you are. The question is simple. Who have you decided to be? You see, decision is the beginning of identity, not talent, not opportunity, not background. I mean, decision. I decided to be a builder when I was standing on a land that nobody else believed in. I decided to be an author when I had a message but no platform. I decided to be a leader when leadership was not yet comfortable or convenient. And every single time, the decision came before the result, not after. That is the first message. Identity is a choice, and you can make that choice right now or wait to pay later. I want to take a moment here, right in the middle of this episode, to speak to whoever needs to hear this most directly. You might be a young person who is just starting out. You might be a professional who has been in the game for years but feels like something is missing. You might be an entrepreneur who has the vision but is struggling to believe it is really meant for you. Wherever you are, this conversation is for you. The CEO perspective was built for exactly this moment. For the person who is serious about building something real, who knows there is more inside them than their current circumstances are showing. This podcast, the community, the book, it all exists to work alongside you as you move from survivor to building. Now, let us keep going because message 2 is the one that personally changed how I make decisions every day. I want you to know that your future self is watching your present decisions. You see, I want you to do something with me right now. Right now. Whether you are driving, walking, sitting at your desk, I want you to take 10 seconds and do this exercise in your mind. Are you ready to do it with me? Close your eyes if you can safely do so. Picture yourself 10 years from now. You are 10 years older. You are standing somewhere. It could be in an office, a building site, a stage, a home you built, a business you grow. You are standing there and you are looking back at this moment, at this version of you, listening to this podcast. That person, your future self, is not a stranger. They are the direct result of the decision the person listening to this episode makes starting today. Think about that for a moment. Your future self has already exists in potentials. They are already formed in the direction you are currently heading. And the only thing standing between who you are and who you are becoming is a series of daily decisions that most people treat as small, but are anything but small. Every time you choose discipline over convenience, the future self gets stronger. Every time you choose to learn something instead of scrolling something, that your future self gets smarter. Every time you stand up for what you believe instead of shrinking to fit in, that future self gets braver. And every time you choose the opposite, every time you comfort wait, every time you procrastinate, every time you let fear make the decision, that future self gets a little further away from you want to be. Because your future selves cannot come back and make today's decisions for you. But you can make decisions today that your future self will thank you for. I want to tell you something very personal here because I believe it will be of great help to you. You see, when I was building in whole, when I was investing time, energy, and resources into a market that most people said was not worth it, there were days when the easier part was obvious. Walk away, wait, play it safe. But I had learned to make decisions based not on who I was in that moment, but on who I had decided to become. You see, my future self was already a builder, already someone who created opportunity where others saw none. And that version of me demanded that the current version shows up accordingly. That discipline of making decisions for your future self instead of your present comfort is one of the most powerful mental framework I know. So I want to ask you, who is your future self? Not in a vague, wishful way. Specifically, what do they have? What have they built? Who do they lead? What does their Monday morning looks like? I want you to write it down. Of course, I know you have a pen and a paper. Get specific because the clearer your picture of your future self, the easier it becomes to make decisions that serve that person today. Your future is watching. Make them proud. Message number 3. Where you are from. I want to tell you this personally as a brother to a brother to a sister. Where you are from is not where you are going. I do not know how best I can describe or explain this, but I want you to understand that where you are from is not where you are going. Because I grew up understanding what it means to come from a place that people overlooked. I built my first real estate community in Ho, Volta region to be precise, a city that most developers in this country will not even consider, a market that was not on anyone's radar, a place that the industry has silently decided had no value. Nobody handed me a market. Nobody cleared the path. Nobody came to me and said, listen, Samuel, here is your opportunity. Here is your platform. Here is your head start. You see, I looked at a place that the world had decided had no value, and I decided they were wrong. That decision, that one quiet, eternal, and non negotiable decision is what everything I have built is rooted in. Now, hear me as bold or as clear as it could be. I am not telling you this to impress you. I am telling you this because I know what it feels like to build from a place nobody is watching, to invest in a vision that your environment had not yet confirmed, to wake up every day and choose to see potentials where the people around you see a ceiling. And I know that some of you listening to this right now have been told directly or indirectly that where you come from limits where you can go. Well, that your school has already written your ceiling, that your neighborhood has already decided your network, that your family background, your city, your starting point has already determined your finishing point. Hear me, I am here to tell you with everything in me that is a lie. Where you are from is your origin, it is not your destination. Let me say that again. Where you are from is your origin, it is not your destination. Some of the most powerful leaders I had known or read about, the most impactful entrepreneurs, the most transformative voices in the world did not come from privileges. They came from pressure. And pressure, when it does not break up, beats you into something extraordinary. The city does not decide the ceiling. The background does not write the biography. The starting point does not determine the finish point. You do. The person who decides where you end up is the one holding the phone or sitting in the room right now. Not your past, not your postcode, not your family name. I mean, you. And from Ho to Tema, from Volta region to Greater Accra, I am living proof that the story can be rewritten, that the market can be created, that the community can be built, that the book can be written, that the podcast can be launched, that the movement can begin with one person who simply decided not to accept the narrative. See, you are the person. Do not let anyone, including yourself, convince you otherwise. Message number 4: becoming requires deciding. You see, this is the final message. It is something you choose, repeatedly on the days when it is easy, and especially on the days when it is not. You do not become great by accident. You do not become something meaningful by waiting. You do not step into who you were created to be by staying comfortable. And here is what I want to be very clear about today. Deciding is not the same as wishing. Don't get me wrong. Wishing is passive. Deciding is active. Wishing says, I hope this happens. Deciding says, I am making this happen. Wishing looks at circumstances and wait for them to change. Deciding looks at circumstances and change them. Every great leader I have studied, every entrepreneur I have admired, every person who has built something that outlasts them, they all share one common origin story. Not privilege, not talent, not lack, a decision. A moment often quiet, often private, often uncomfortable, where they looked at the gap between where they were and where they were called to be. And they said, I choose this. I choose the harder part. I choose the person I am meant to become over the person it is easiest to remain. The most important decisions you will ever make is not what career you choose, not what university to attend, not even who to marry. The most important decision you will ever make is to decide consciously, seriously, and today who you are going to be, and then to become that person one day at a time. One decision compounded over 1,000 days in a transformed life. One decision repeated every morning. I am becoming this person reshapes identity from the inside. So I am asking you, not as a podcast host, not as a speaker or an author or an entrepreneur, as someone who has sat in the uncertainty you might be sitting in right now. Who do you want to be? Not who does your family want you to be. I more often get that my family wants me to be this, my family wants to be that. Not who does society expect you to be. Not who is it safe or comfortable or convenient to be. Who do you want to be? Answer that question. Write it down. Protect it. Build towards it every single day. That is the work. That is the CEO perspective. Before I let you go today, I want to give you one thing to do. Just one. I mean, I know you're tired already. Just one. Take out your phone or a piece of paper. Do it right now. I'm waiting. Have you done that? Do it right now and write down one sentence. Just one sentence that starts with a word. I have decided to become. Now, while doing this, I do not want you to overthink it. I do not want you to edit it. I do not want you to worry about whether it sounds impressive enough or whether it sounds pushy. Just finish that sentence honestly. I have decided to become. Do not show anyone this you've written. Just write it. I do you do it all the time because the moment you write it, something shifts, something register in your mind, something in your mind register that this is no longer a wish. It is a declaration, a contract with yourself, and that is where every great life begins. Not on a stage, not in a boardroom, in a quiet moment with a sentence and a decision. I want to hear from you. Take a screenshot of this episode, write your sentence in the caption, and share it with the CEO Perspective community. Tag us. Let us celebrate your decision with you. And if today's episode added something to your life, share it with one person who needs to hear this question, one person who is ready to answer it. That is how vision meets reality, one conversation at a time. Now, my final words for today, please receive them slowly. The words do not need more people who almost became who they were supposed to be. Let me say that again. The world does not need more people who almost became who they were supposed to be. The world needs you. Say it. The world needs me. Say it to yourself. The world needs me. Fully, intentionally. Say it fully, intentionally, and on purpose. And on purpose. Decide today. Thank you for spending this hour with me on the CEO Perspective podcast, a place where vision meets reality and dreams are shaped into businesses. If you're yet to subscribe, do that now so you never miss an episode. Leave a review if this added value to your life. It takes 30 seconds and it helps this message reach someone who needs it. You can also connect with me directly, grab a copy of my book, The CEO Perspective from Survivor to Strategy, and become part of our growing community of builders and leaders. Until next time, keep building, keep deciding, and remember, the best version of you is not behind you, it is ahead of you. I am Samuel MOREGRACE EDEHIGHAGBA, and this is the CEO Perspective.